it's a surreal moment to stand with a Zimbabwean and that we get to do this work together. Sue and I share together and participate together as the African regional team facilitators for World Without Orphans, and it's been a privilege to work with her, so I'm glad that I get to do this with you.
I'm so happy that I get to do this with you, and it's just amazing that 2 Zimbabweans end up doing this job. Before we go any further, I just want to honor somebody that's in the room with us. Eddie Tango is the gentleman featured in the video, and it would have been completely inappropriate for our team to travel here and tell his story without having him in the room. Eddie, please, will you just stand up?
Please, listen. Thanks, Eddie. That is awesome. We're speaking about collaboration that brings us from crisis to hope. But let's be honest. We have had collaboration that started with hope, but ended up in crisis. Yeah? We can all really, if we think about it, we have all been in those situations. But what we want to talk about is that when we are intentional, collaboration can happen and can bring us from crisis to hope. And we have experienced that and have seen it in the work that we are doing as World Without Orphan, but also as individual organizations. One of the key things that I love about this community is that we have a shared vision that is joining us together. And you have heard that vision being spoken about in the video. And I don't need to kind of rehash it again, but it is just a good reminder why this community exists, why this movement is here right now. Why are we here right now? It is because of this shared vision. And this is what makes this community a beautiful community to be part of, because I understand that I don't have to do this on my own, that I have brothers and sisters that are walking alongside me, achieving what God has already set to achieve in the communities that we get to serve together. Collaboration is not a walk in the park. Collaboration is not easy, but it's not something that we need to run away from. It is something that we need to run towards, because when we join together, we are beautiful. It is beautiful not only for us, it is beautiful for God. Oh,
You're not a trainer. You're not clicking around
yeah,
there at all.
you know, the flashlights, my sister, the
I know,
flashlights.
it's like staring in the dark, right?
One of the key things that I have loved about this movement, this community of practice, is that at the center of it, collaboration is at the center of the mission of World Without Orphans. And this has been a key thing for me as a leader stepping into this space to lead a ministry that is working international. I don't think I'll be here 6 years later from stepping into this role as an executive director for Forgotten Voices if I didn't have this community. So collaboration is key, but we know that it is difficult, but we're saying we need to be intentional in collaborating with one another. The cornerstones that set this movement apart and the values that are guiding this movement have been amazing. That God is at the center. God is in everything and every way that this community works. We want the child, we want the family, we want the church, and there is the movement, but God is working in all of those areas. And there is a connection that is there that makes being part of this movement beautiful, because it's not about us. Yeah. It's not about an individual organization, but it is about God working through each and every one of us to ensure that the child gets a relationship with God, the family is staying together but is also connected to God, that the church is restored and re-engaged in connecting with what God is doing in the communities that they are working at. And then there is a movement where we are all joining together with God to do what He is intending to do for children and families in the communities that we serve.
That one's mine.
Take it. Take it.
This is one of my favorite slides. If you're familiar with the roadmap, then you know this slide. And this really speaks to what we can achieve together. The first slide, we're all doing something good. Well, some of us might not be doing something good, but we're all doing something good for children. But when we begin to work together, and we have a shared purpose and a shared vision, and we begin to move in the same direction, our impact is immeasurable. I think of the learning, of the 4 pillars of the roadmap, I think that collaboration is one of the hardest ones for us to engage with because it requires a change of our hearts. We tend to be siloed. We want to look after our own ministry, our own church, our own donors, our own funding. And it takes a shift in our heart. It takes a shift in our posture to join together and to work together. But when we do, there's something dynamic that happens. And we can achieve so much more together than we ever can when we're working alone. One of the things that one of the results of collaboration is a learning community. You've heard us talking about learning community. You hear that word. It's part of our language in this community. Learning communities are just an amazing space. You're in a learning community right now. You're part of a learning community in this moment in time. You're in a learning community. There are experts in this room. You're all experts. We're going to choice sessions, which Ruby has put together with experts in the room. But the dynamic of the learning community is that we learn from each other. I will share this with you. I was doing Trauma 2. I was teaching Trauma Level 2 this as a pre-forum. And I had Lynn Johnson. It was a tremendous honor to train with him. And he is the daddy of trauma training, right? And we go into the class, and I look at who's in my class, and my heart started to beat at a different rate. I had Sarah Vargas, Nizreen, Pachi, Anu, Hazel, sitting in my class. And my heart was beating at a different rate. I thought, this is terrifying. These are powerhouse women that I love and respect. Any one of them could be up here teaching this class. But they came with a posture to learn. And it changed the dynamic for me. Yes, we had information. We had a wonderful curriculum. We had 2 amazing trainers, me and Lynn. But the community in that room was amazing. And I learned as much standing at the front from these people in the classroom as they did from me. And it was such a great current example of the learning community. Anywhere where we gather, it's an opportunity for a learning community. I want to just take a minute and share the slide that you're seeing there. One of the things that we do in Zimbabwe in our learning community is that we will serve people a tea, a coffee, something to eat. And there's something wonderful that happens when we break bread together. There's a community that happens. Can you click for me? There, stop there. Stop there. No,
I think that's the wrong one.
Shelton? Your wife is there, and I will have her deal with you. I want to honor you. You know, our community is about honoring people and showing gratitude. And Shelton and I have been in a lot of different places together with various teams. And Shelton, your leadership in the food line is exceptional.
Oh my gosh. Out of everything, too. Out of everything, man. Where do you go from that? You know, we're talking collaboration, but I think this is a joy. This is a joy of participating in community with one another. It becomes more than just a job where you have to do together. It becomes something that gives you life. It becomes something that actually you look forward to being with those of your tribe. Yeah? But we also know that the learning communities are where collaboration effectively happens. If there is no learning community, collaboration sometimes doesn't always happen well. Because the learning community gives us time to build relationship with one another before we start taking action together. Yeah? But if we just jump let's build relationship together, let's just start working together, it becomes very transactional and not transformational. And what we are all here about is transformational change that we want to see. So I have loved the learning community. I have loved this learning community, and our ministry is better because of this learning community. Our ministry is better because of your input in what you are doing in your area, and it helps me to be a better leader. And I want to honor you because I've learned some things from you. Wait
You don't
until
have
I
any
see.
sneaky slides in
I
here.
have any
Shelton.
sneaky slide.
Shelton.
Okay. That's
My
the
slide?
slide.
Are you giving
yes.
me this slide?
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, the values that we have in the learning community are that we learn from experts. And we have leadership here, especially Susan and Ruby. The roadmap is, especially in the areas of prevention and intervention, you don't have to look anywhere else. They have got the best programs available on the planet that have been put there and made available for us. So we learn from experts, we learn from each other. Each one of us has something to bring to the table. We all have something to contribute to the conversation. It's about taking action. If we leave here and all we did was come and eat a lot of good food and have a good hangout together and we don't go home and do something with what we've learned, we've missed the point. Right? We want it to be taking action to make lives better for children, to improve the outcomes for children in every country that's represented here. And then we have mutual accountability. When we work together, there are people watching what we do. I'm tracking Shelton when we're working together. He's tracking me. We're holding each other accountable. Did you do this? Have you said this? And then we have other people that we are doing that with. In our national movements, there's got to be that level of accountability. That keeps us safe, and it builds trust in the movement.
Okay. Do you want me to take this one?
I do.
Okay. So one of the things that has been a good value for this community is this commitment to learning community. And when we step into the space of learning together, that we need to make a commitment to make this community work. Yeah? So we have this commitment that we invite you to say, and we have made some, just a good reminder for you that you have received in your bag. But this is something that we encourage you to, as you step into the learning community, make this commitment every time. I commit myself to be willing to learn from others, even if I'm an expert. Let that simmer for a little bit. I'm willing to learn from others, even if I'm the expert. Talking of honor, I have had the privilege of traveling with Dr. Susan Hillis, and sometimes I feel very small because the information that she has is massive. But I've never felt very small in her presence because she values what I have to say. And that has been very honoring to me, and that goes to all of the leaders that are also here. But also, I commit myself to contributing to discussion so others can learn from me. And that has been a key thing, that even though I'm working in a very small, different place, that I'm sitting in the presence of others, I am willing to contribute, so that I don't keep my thoughts to myself, because that's how we learn and that's how we grow together. I commit myself to put into action what I learn and share my experiences. So this is our encouragement, that when you return home, don't just take what you have learned here and just sit on it for yourself, but share it with others, because that's how the collective impact happens, when we share it with others. I commit myself to be accountable to others and to hold others to account. And this is the joy again of this learning community, and I have people that also do that for me. But also we have learned that in community, it is very difficult. When we do community, we'll tend to lose some people that we love. And this year was very difficult for the ministry that I lead, Forgotten Voices, because we lost a champion in our learning community. And it has been a very difficult healing process for us as a team, for this learning community. But we wanted to honor Remy Amapande, who was our country director in Zambia, and who was part of this learning community. And to do that, I also want to invite Dr. Susan to come up and join us just to share in this time. Go for it, sir.
Am I starting?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I will say that I loved Remy a lot. And I first met him probably about 5 years ago. He was the director of Forgotten Voices Zambia before he passed on into heaven. And he had previously been a very successful banker at Barclays Bank in Lusaka. And one day, as the story goes, Ryan, who you've mentioned, was walking in Lusaka, and he was knowing that he needed to look for a director of Forgotten Voices for Lusaka, for Zambia. And he sees this man sitting on the steps of the bank. And he starts chatting with him and asking him what he's doing. And Remy says, well, I've just felt like the Lord has told me to quit my job because he's calling me to the orphans, but I don't really know what to do other than sit on the steps of the bank because I don't really know what that means. But he ended up being hired by Ryan to take that job. And and you see Ryan's picture there, you see the two of them together. Remy loved his family so well. He loved the body of Christ so well. He loved orphans so well. He served faithfully in the seminary there in Ndola where he taught. And he was a good friend of mine. When he passed away, I was so heartbroken, and I was very grateful that I actually happened to be on the way to Africa and was able to get a reroute and actually be at his memorial service. And it was really a special time to be there just to honor him. But I want to say the thing that I remember most, and it is linked to this learning community idea that you're talking about. And what I learned through Remy is being part of a learning community means your voice can change the world. And when COVID started, he called me over a crackling Zoom line, and I have a message from him on my phone that he left, and I was able to find it, and I'm going to let you hear his voice and hear the question he asked me, and then I'll share with you how that one question is changing the world still. So can you cue it up?
If COVID comes here and takes out the grannies, we will have no one left to care for the orphans. They are the ones taking care of all the children whose parents died of AIDS.
So Remy had said that, and I was shocked. It was about 2 months after the pandemic began. And I realized he was right. And I was laid in bed awake at night. I couldn't go to sleep. I kept thinking, we need to figure out some way to count the number of children that have been orphaned by COVID globally so people will start paying attention to them and make sure they get help. And we were able to figure out with some of my colleagues at CDC and some of the other places I have collaborators how to do it, and began to call the world's attention to the fact that over several years, 12.4 million children additionally had been orphaned by the pandemic, and to begin to get a lot of help to them. But Remy got interviewed by a lot of high-level media outlets, including, being prime featured in National Geographic for his question. But do you remember, if you remember those maps I showed this morning, do you remember the one that animated and turned red with the COVID orphans? If you remember it, raise your hand. Do you remember it? Okay, so you're remembering it. That map happened because of Remy's question, and that map went around the world. And a lot of countries changed their laws, changed help that got to those kids. The U.S. changed help that got to the kids in our country because of that map. But that map was because of his one question, that he was brave enough to call me over the phone and ask me that question. And I loved and respected him enough, and I'm so committed to this learning community idea, I knew, Lord, there is something that you are doing with his question, and if there is any way it can be answered, by golly, we are going to answer it. So I want to praise God for Remy and for the way that one small step of our obedience can bring blessing far beyond, exceedingly, abundantly, above and beyond all we can ask or imagine. And Remy's life did that for me and many. And for that, I praise God.
Now, I just, as Susan was talking, I just was remembering, Shelton, we would have these online meetings, and Remy would always be in the room, and we'd be having conversation, and we'd be asking questions, and Remy was just quiet. And he would just sit, and he would sit, and then at the end, you might say something to him like, Remy, do you have something you'd like to share? And he would drop the nugget of gold that we had all been talking for an hour to find, and he had what we needed in that moment. So very, very precious person and friend.
Good. So we know that God has impacted wisdom, giftings to each and every one of us. And on your table, there are puzzle pieces that we intentionally put there for you to take time to just write. We're going to take a few minutes for discussion, and we have a discussion question there for you. But we also want you to take puzzle pieces. There are 12 puzzle pieces on your table, but some of you might need to pick up 1 or 2 pieces. But we just want to, again, express that we all are coming with something in our hands. And let's write that down. Take time to reflect over the next 10 minutes. Write something down, and then put that puzzle together on your table while you're also answering this question. Which one of these 4 commitments is the most challenging in your context? And how might that barrier be overcome? Because we know that these commitments are not easy. There are cultures, there are contexts that it is very difficult for us to do that. But we want to be intentional about recognizing what we all bring to the table. So we are very grateful to share this. And so and there's some colors and pens on your desk, on your table, that you can take to write what you bring to the table. And you can put that together to reflect the full picture of what God is doing through us when we learn together in a learning community.
You almost, like...
Take the last word, bro.
No, I don't need the last word. So the point of the puzzle is, if you were to take that puzzle and in some way define what your piece of the puzzle is. So if you were a banker, for example, or a business person supporting orphan care ministries, you might just put like a big $sign on your piece. Okay? You can be more creative than that. But the point is, if you could, like right now you just have blank pieces in front of you, but if you can fill something in there, and then no matter how crazy it looks, put the puzzle back together and then take a snap of it. It's much more interesting. It's much more colorful. It's much richer than the blank individual pieces sitting there on your table.